Welcome to Parker's MMA Show. If you want to learn about all things going down in the fight world, you've come to the right place. Each episode, your host Parker Keene will take a deeper dive into the always entertaining world of sanctioned fist fighting. Now here's your host, Parker Keene.
All right, welcome back. Episode 73 of Parker's MMA Show. Today we have on very special guest, Raufeon Stots. He is a 16-1 pro MMA fighter, currently ranked number 4 in Bellator's Bantamweight division. He's coming off a big win over Josh Hill, his 4th consecutive victory in Bellator, and he is right on the door of the Bellator Bantamweight title. So very, very excited to talk to him. Raufeon, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, man. Thanks for the intro, man. You got me hyped.
Yeah, there we go. So, hey, we like to start kind of at the beginning with these interviews. You were born in Houston, Texas. Talk about kind of growing up in our home state of Texas and the sports you played when you were younger and how eventually you worked your way into fighting.
Yeah, so I was actually, I was born in Houston, Texas, Acres Home to be exact. I don't know if y'all familiar. But yeah, so I was born there. My mom pretty much was fighting to get us out of a bad situation. And she ended up getting a job and moving us out to like North Houston, Tomball area. And then shortly after she made that move, she ended up passing away when I was like 16 and I was in high school. And from that, or like right before that kind of happened, I had started doing like wrestling. Right before she had passed, like the summer of my sophomore year, I had started doing wrestling. My coach had convinced her to let me do wrestling, and she passed away. And wrestling for me was kind of a way for me to kind of get into college and kind of make a better life for myself. So it was something I pursued, kind of to make her proud. Also, to get into a kind of better situation. And that's how I got into wrestling. And then from wrestling, I went on to All-American in junior college. Then I won two national championships in college. And then in between, like me coaching wrestling, and I was thinking about going to like the Olympic route, maybe going to Denver to wrestle like on the world stage and stuff. I met some MMA guys, and I met one of my first coaches, Jens Pover, and he got me into fighting.
Yeah, obviously I know this story, but I feel like many people kind of don't know. You actually attended the same college as University of Nebraska at Kearney. It's a Division II wrestling powerhouse. You won, like you said, 2 national championships. What was that like, Raufeon? What was it like being a Division II wrestler? And what did you kind of learn during that time in your life where you're in a wrestling room grinding with guys every single day, and it's Division II, so there's not a ton of glory in it. What was that like?
Yeah, I feel like that was like very beneficial for me, because I went there, and I went there with the thought of I'm having to be the best guy in the nation. I was at my weight class, because it was his name is TJ Hepburn, and he is a monster. As far as wrestling, he's like the toughest wrestler I ever faced, outside of going to train with him. So I was pretty much going there with the mindset of, hey, I got to beat this guy that I couldn't really touch or whatever. But like that atmosphere that had so many like great. I started wrestling when I was like the summer of my sophomore year, and then my junior year. So I didn't have a lot of experience going in, but I had a lot of guys around me that have been wrestling for a long time, very successful at wrestling, that kind of beat me up and helped me progress and get better. You know what I mean? I remember one time I had lost a duel because I couldn't get off a bottom from a guy that was very tough on riding on top. And there was 4 guys around me: Joey Wilson, who was an All-American, Dalton Jensen, who was a national champion, TJ Hepburn was a national champion. They brought me into the room, the wrestling room, and they were like, "Hey, yeah, just come down." And I'm thinking, we were all just gonna like maybe go live or something. But they all brought me in so they all could like just ride me and kind of just beat me up for an hour straight until I figured out how to get on. I've learned, how like you can beat somebody up out of love, kind of. You can like make somebody, through the fire. You can kind of make somebody great. And I learned that hard work ethic. I learned that grind from those teammates around me.
That's great. I mean, you hear it from so many guys who come out of those wrestling rooms, right? And they say, nothing's harder than being in there. It's a bunch of guys who love each other, but the work gets done certainly. I gotta ask, I'd be remiss not to, being on the inside with kind of the Kearney crew. Do you have any good Kamaru Usman stories you could share with us?
Man, Kamaru. So I've known actually Kamaru since I was in high school. So high school, because he's from Texas too, and he came back to be my Team Texas coach duel, like the or the where the best wrestlers kind of in Texas get together and then compete against the other states at Fargo and national duels and things like that. And yeah, he was one of my coaches. And so the first time I had a opportunity to pretty much train with him, and he's pretty much bigger than me, but I was an odd guy out of drilling. I was an odd guy out, and the coach at the time told pretty much me to go with Kamaru. Um, and I don't know if he was like happy about it or not, but I know he put a beating on me that I remember. He put a beating on me, and yeah, and then but again, like he was kind of like taking me under his wing, and showing me the ropes and showing me how to drill and stuff like that. And then when I had went to Nebraska Kearney, it was a year before, so it was the year I came in. The year he was, I got to talk to him in the summer. So I came like early before the year started. I came in the summer to kind of get acclimated and to the city. And I met Kamaru through my friend Josh Smith, and or I seen Kamaru again through my friend Josh Smith, and he was like, because he also knows that I'm Nigerian, and his mom pretty much he told me the way he was like, hey man, hey, you all right, man? You got, like, you good? You like big brother or whatever? And then he was like, yeah, my mom made me make sure like you all right. So you all right, bro? Like you good? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good, bro. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And so and then he's always kind of a like a big he feels he's my big brother. So he's always like giving me advice, which is, it's cool, but I'm also like, I'm a grown man, I got it, you know what I mean? He's a guy, he's a good dude.
I wish I wore my John Obi Mikel jersey. I literally wore it yesterday, and it's in the wash, man. I have the green and with the black sleeves and the zigzag. And yeah, that one's good. That's a good jersey, man. Anyway, Park, go ahead, or me and Raufeon will talk Nigerian soccer all night.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about making that transition full time into fighting after wrestling. Kind of when did you know it was time to do that and you were going to do that?
Yeah, so I was wrestling, right, and the reason Jens Pover had brought me in was to pretty much be like a wrestling coach. I was helping wrestling at the university, or helping coach wrestling at the university, and he had brought me into like the MMA team he was starting in Kearney. He brought me there to pretty much, yeah, just help teach wrestling there at the MMA school, and then he eventually, he talked me into boxing classes, and then he was like, hey, well, you know or you pretty much in it all, you might as well have a fight, you know what I mean? And I was like, well, yeah, talk me into it all. So far I'm gonna just go ahead and have a fight. And so he went out and took me to my first amateur fight. It took me a while kind of to get an amateur fight, just because I think because of the wrestling, like people didn't want to like they would say yeah, but then they go to the internet and find out, I wrestled, and they kind of back out. So it took me probably like 6 to 8 months to get a first amateur fight. But then after I got the amateur fight, I had been training for a while and I was ready for it. And he was even he told me like don't use my wrestling at all. You know what I mean? And I think I did like a standing on anaconda or whatever, and the guy's feet was like dangling, and then he like dropped to the ground, and then I like finished the fight, and I was like, yeah, you know what? It's so cool. I like this stuff.
So, Raufeon, once you start fighting, obviously you had quite a few amateur fights. What's kind of I always think these amateur fight stories, like that's the Wild West of MMA, right? That's where stuff is really crazy. So, like, what's your favorite story of something wild that happened during your amateur career?
Oh, man, during my amateur career, it wasn't even a fight that I had, but it was a fight my friend Josh Smith had. So again, right, Vince Pover was our coach. So a lot of times, like in the MMA scene in Nebraska, Vince Pover, like they would tell the promotion Vince Pover going to be there, and they kind of roll out the red carpet for Vince Pover. You know what I mean? And sometimes he would show up, but sometimes he would they roll out the red carpet, expect him to be there. So a lot of times we would get the amenity, us being like fresh out of college, you know what I mean? Pretty much we were broke, and they gave us like this hotel suite. It was me, Josh Smith, and a guy named Seth Bass. They gave us this hotel suite, but I remember it like, man, thinking like at the time I was like, man, this is the nicest thing I've ever seen. I had a jacuzzi there. I wasn't married at the time, so after the fight we had like girls from the promotion and stuff like in the room, and we pretty much tore up the room. And I mean that was probably the funnest time I had, but it wasn't even my fight; it was somebody else's fight, and but it was a fun time. It's crazy because we weren't supposed to be there at all, but we kind of told people that this is gonna be here, and they gave us whatever we wanted. So yeah.
So eventually, when did you kind of decide it was time to become pro and decide that this is what you were going to do as a profession?
So I started off in Kearney, Nebraska, but then the gym kind of shut down just from like lack of commitment from a lot of the fighters. So I moved to Iowa with gents to Pat Militant's gym, and the fighters were a little more committed, and I got to get a look of what a real like MMA gym was kind of like, and training with those guys, and getting acclimated to training like the professionals train as an amateur. I was looking to make a pro debut, but it was kind of the same thing. I couldn't really get a fight going. I'd have fights and they fall out, but I would stay consistently training. Then also, Jens Pover was off doing a commentating job like Winter Warrior in Australia, so he wasn't there. Then Pat Miletich was gone doing LFA commentating. So in the gym, I was getting to the point where I was kind of like I got acclimated to training, but then I was getting to the point where I was kind of reaching my threshold, like kind of with the teammates around me. I was kind of reaching to where I feel like I could do what I wanted, but I didn't really have a lot of technique. So I was looking to make like a move to somewhere where I could be challenged a little more. And Pat Miletich actually told me that I should check out Rufus Sport. Went to Rufus Sport, got like submitted like 4-5 times in a round by like the jiu-jitsu professor, and then I was like, what, I need to come here, if not just to come back and get that guy. I gotta get that guy. So I came to Rufus Sport, and shortly after, like my that's how it happened.
Yeah, that's great. I've actually seen you fight live twice, Raytheon. Both of your
Oh,
LFA fights in Dallas. I was standing, 5 feet from the cage, believe it or not. But
that was a
one
time.
that
Yeah,
one that I didn't see, your lone professional loss, right? You knew we were
yeah,
going to ask about this.
yeah,
Top 15 guy in the UFC, Merab Dvalishvili, came
yeah,
very early in your career. Do
yeah.
you still follow him? Like if you're that good, you're winning, you have one loss, you keep winning. Do you follow that guy and are you happy that he's like doing so well? And then
I'm
is that one that you want to get back or do you not think about it at all?
I'm ecstatic. Anybody that I face, I want them to win. Even if I beat them, I want them, to win. It just looks better for me. I mean, especially the ones I lose to. So yeah, I follow Dishavili, and he's a good dude. I don't have no ill will toward him, other than wanting to get that win back. I've got one other guy that I lost to as an amateur. I was able to like right that wrong. So I would love a chance to right that wrong. But I know in my well now we're in different organizations. Before it was like when I was a free agent, it was like he really has nothing to gain, fighting me, and I don't want to really chase him just because you know what I mean. There's no reason for him to chase him or reason for him to want to fight me. Again, it was kind of like he got away. He got a good one and he got away. Not to say he's not an amazing fighter. He's an amazing fighter. You know what I mean. But also, I was like you said, I was young. I know where I made mistakes. I know, what I could have done better, and a lot of it was mindset. And but yeah, that was one I. If I could get back, I'm like I'd be so happy if I could fight him again. I'd be so happy. I know I've grown and I've I've learned so many lessons. On my way up. I know I'm a much better fighter, and I feel like I'm the best fighter or bantamweight in the world, and I just need chances to prove it. So
When you talk about that, right? Like when you say like I believe I'm the best bantamweight in the world, how do you evaluate that? Like do you look at I've beaten all these guys and that proves I'm the best bantamweight in the world? You'd say like this is my skill set, I'm the best bantamweight in the world. Like what goes through your head other than just like pure alpha male bravado that like has you confident like in an intelligent way that you're the best bantamweight in the world?
so I try to be as realistic as I can with approaching fighting. So um I feel like not only like my athletic skill for one is very high, but my fight IQ I feel like is even higher. And those things put together with my kind of my like fights and dictate where fights go. I feel like I'm unstoppable. I mean, I try to be realistic, but and I also I look at my opponents and I look at what my opponents have done. I look at you know how I feel like other people perform in comparison, and I feel like I'm the best. You know what I mean? I feel like there's like I'm very dominant. So when it comes to like wrestling and grappling, I'm very dominant. I'm not saying I'm the best. You know what I mean? I can't say that I haven't been out in any of my fights. I've never been out grappled. I've never been kind of dominated anywhere. I've never been like dominated. Um, but I'm very good at dictating if I want the fight to be somewhere, the fight's gonna be there. So I'm very good at kind of yeah controlling the fight, like I fight and that's the other thing. I can switch style intelligently and efficiently, you know what I mean. So like if I fight a BJJ black belt, right, if I feel like his level of skill on the ground is with mine, I have the ability to not take it there, and I have the fight IQ to keep the fight where my opponent is the weakest. You know what I mean? I don't consider myself, somebody that's just gonna run you over. I consider myself a very intelligent fighter, and if I feel like my skill level is higher than yours in a certain aspect, that's where you're gonna fight the fight. You know what I mean? And for me, I'm eventually gonna wear you down and beat you up off of my technique and my intelligence. You know what I mean? So that's where my kind of confidence comes from, and it's purely also it's from my teammates and my coaches. You know what I mean? We train very intelligently and we like very tenaciously. So that's where a lot of my confidence comes from.
So let's go back a little bit to the LFA run. You obviously had a really great run with the LFA, and then Bellator came calling. What was it like getting that call from your first major promotion? And do you kind of remember, where you were at? What thoughts came to your head when you got that call?
Yeah, I was when I first got the call, it was in the morning. So I usually my son goes to daycare like pretty much while I'm at practice. Any other time, like he's with me. So I was fixing eggs in the morning in my for breakfast, and Clarence or Brian Butler called me and was like, hey, I think we got an offer on the table from Bellator. I'll call you back here in a little bit to let you know how it goes or whatever. And when that happened, I was like, I was floored. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't expecting it. I had previously done I cornered Emmanuel Sanchez and talked to John McCarthy. Is it John McCarthy? John McCarthy. And he's seen a grappling event I had done, and he had asked me, hey, when you gonna come over to Bellator? And in my head, I'm like, I didn't know, I didn't really think about that as an option. I mean, whenever, somebody calls me, I didn't really even think about it, because at the time I had my mind so set on the UFC. I was gonna be in the UFC. And so like I was like, yeah, I didn't even know that was an option, but I guess when y'all call me, I'm down, because I also like the way Emmanuel Sanchez was treated, and I like the tournament style or the Grand Prix style of fighting that they had going on. So yeah, and so yeah, he called me and told me, yeah, I'm gonna call you back, and not literally like even before I was able to drop off my son, which was like an hour and a half later. They called me with an offer that I couldn't pretty much refuse at the time. So I was just ecstatic. That whole day was nothing but just, joy. And I was super excited.
Okay, so now you've rolled off 4 consecutive wins in the Bellator cage. How do you compare the level of competition over in Bellator compared to LFA or wherever you've been before? Because it seems like it's obviously you're getting up there.
Yeah, I feel like it's the competition is getting tougher. But I'm also, in a position where I'm prepared, for it all. I feel like my last fight was definitely the toughest opponent on paper. But I feel like I handled that, I almost handled it too good. People thought it was too easy for me. So yeah, so I think the competition is definitely getting better, but I'm at a point where it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I think you've a good friend of the show here is one of your former opponents, Cass Bell, and he kind of says the same thing, that it's getting tougher and tougher in that Bellator bantamweight division. I'd even argue that it's now the best division in Bellator. I think it was pretty clearly welterweight a little while ago, but now I think it's bantamweight. And that being said, Raufeon, someone like yourself, 4-0 in the Bellator cage, kind of climbing the ranks here. Who do you want to fight next?
Man, I want to fight every single one of those guys in the top 10. I want to fight even it's man. So Magomedov, I feel like is my top choice right now. And purely because he seems like the most or the person that wants to fight the most. Like he actually been engaging with me on Twitter and Instagram. Like he wants to fight. Like he feels like I'm the fight to have. And those are the type of people that I'm like, I need to fuck you up, because you think you think it's sweet over here. So you know what I mean. I just have I literally walked up to Apache Mix and James Gallagher and pretty much asked them to their face like, hey, you want to fight or not? You know what I mean? And they say the answers I feel like were like roundabout ways of being like, I mean, if they offer me then I'm a fight. So I really don't know how likely or how much they really want to fight me. But yeah, so So definitely Magomedov. Sergio Pettis also is, he's my teammate. I don't want to fight him. But if I have to fight him, if they offer me a belt, I can't refuse the fight. And we're both professionals, and we, understand that's part of the game. We've already talked about it. And that Magomedov kid right now.
How much does
like,
a new ranking system kind of, clarify, just who you're going to fight in Bellator? Because in the past, it's always been kind of confusing and up in the air.
Yeah, jumbled. Yeah, and I like it. I like it just because it's kind of a clear path, or it should be a clear path of who you need to get through. You know what I mean? It's like a ladder. You know what I mean? And you just beat the guys on the rung, and that's what I'm like used to from like wrestling. Like you just beat the next best guy. You know what I mean? You move on in tournaments. You beat the next big guy. You know what I mean? So all the like politics or what do you call it, hype or stuff like that. I'm not really too big into. I rather like let's just go prove it. Let's just go fight. You know what I mean? Let's go figure it out. Like, okay, you say you're the best. I also say I'm the best. Let's just figure it out. Let's let's fight. So yeah, I like it. What I also like about it is that now like the it don't really matter for like the fighters so much, but for the general public, they get, you know what I mean? So if you look at like my run in the UFC or my run in Bellator, you can see that I fought so now I fought two people in the top 10 rankings. I beat two people in top 10 rankings. I'm the only person in the top 10 who's I think, or I know who's beat two of the guys. Sergio has beaten the champion, and Juan Archuleta beat Patchy, you know what I mean? But I'm the only guy who's beaten two people in the top 2 rankings. Magomedov ain't beat nobody in the top 10. But you can kind of see, the level of competition, who's fighting and who's, kind of picking and choosing opponents. So I like it.
Magomedov does have that win over Peter Yan, though, so that's a nice notch in the belt there for you, Raufeon.
For sure. I don't want to say like Magomedov is like, he's a very good fighter, and he's probably he could be my best, or he could be the opponent that I face. You know what I mean? He's probably the toughest opponent I could get. And I would say he's one of the toughest, in the division. But I just don't feel like in Bellator, while in Bellator, he's done so much. You know what I mean? Which that's the one part of the rankings I don't really understand. Are we going off of like their MMA record as a whole, or what they have done in Bellator? Which, if we go off of the MMA record as a whole, then yeah, Magomedov should be ahead of me, and he's got that win over Peter Yan, and yeah, that's better than me. I can't, you know what I'm saying? I try to be as real as I can. That's better than me. But if we're going off of Bellator, what you've done in Bellator, I feel like I'm higher. But that's the beauty of it. If I can go fight him, we can figure it out.
I was going to say, I got an easy way to solve this conundrum, Raufeon. Who's going to be the Bellator 135-pound champ at the end of this year?
At the end of this year, excluding myself?
Yeah.
Sergio Pettis, man. Sergio, man, I mean, he is, I've been saying this for years, he is a monster, and he's so technical, he's so efficient, he's so he's got all the groundwork and stuff, and he's got the right attitude, he's a constant learner, and he's my best training partner. I've learned so much from him. He's an amazing fighter.
And then along those lines, do you believe that it's possible to be considered the best 135-pound fighter in the world while fighting for Bellator?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Because if I beat Magomedov beat Peter Yan. And
so
then,
quick MMA math there, huh?
Yeah, a little quick MMA math. Yeah, boom. Peter Yan he would have beat Aljamain. So yeah, I think I can make a claim for it. It'll be a legitimate claim if I say that in a world organization or a worldwide organization like Bellator.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, Raufeon, if you end up fighting and beating Magomedov, I'll be telling everyone in the gym that you could have beat Peter Yan too. Just so you
Let's go.
You're the legend. Yeah. For sure.
All right, so I got one for you. We're about halfway through the year here. What are your goals for the rest of 2021?
Man, I want to fight 2 times. I want to fight 2 times before the year is over. I want to try to fight July, August, preferably July. And then I want to fight again kind of around like November, December. I like to fight like right before Christmas so I can like turn up during Christmas. But yeah, that's my goal. Yeah, I want to fight times before the year is over. So that's my goal. You know what I mean? If it's for a belt, it's for a belt. If not, I want to fight 2 times before the year is over. I also, like I said, I want to fight every single one of those guys in the top 10, even like Darian Caldwell, that Brent Johns kid. I want to fight all these guys. You know what I mean? It's in my goal is to fight every single one of these guys. You know what I mean? And test my skills against everybody.
Love to hear it. So, Raufeon, something that we do with everyone that we interview, we end every interview with a rapid fire segment, 5 questions, just like a 5-round fight. Try and do it something not really MMA related. Try and get a little bit of your personality. I know you're a Texas guy. Obviously we're in Dallas, so we get it. I need to get some of your opinions on Milwaukee. I know you train a lot in Milwaukee, so I got 5 Milwaukee-based questions here. You let me know when you're ready.
Let's go.
All right, question number 1, Raufeon. What is the best restaurant in Milwaukee?
Boom, gotta be Maxie's. Maxie's is my number 1 restaurant. It's Louisiana food. I just had some last night. I had some jambalaya, and it was delicious.
All right, question number 2. What is something that you think is underrated or underappreciated about Milwaukee?
I feel like the Bradford Beach is like underrated. You know what I mean? Because you don't think about it's a lake, but it's got like a good beach vibe, and I didn't expect it when I came to Milwaukee to even be a thing.
All right, question number 3. Other than yourself, who is your favorite Milwaukee-based athlete?
Giannis would have to be. My dad says I should try to be friends with him as much as I can.
Question number 4. What is one thing that must do if they visit Milwaukee? Like, what's the go-to thing if you visit?
So you gotta go. Well, I would say the beach, and then if you go, you gotta come to summer and go to Summerfest. Summerfest is probably a big attraction.
And then last one, question number 5. As a non-native Milwaukee resident, what is a Milwaukee or Wisconsin stereotype that is absolutely true?
Everybody say, oh. Oh, excuse me there. Oh.
All right, man. Well, that's it. That's the rapid fire. You heard it from him. Raufeon Stots, number 4 Bantamweight in Bellator. Raufeon, thank you so much for coming on the show. Please tell the people where they can find you on social media, and then any shout-outs you may have.
Yeah, you can find me Raufeon Stots, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Yeah, I like to shout out Combat Corner, Twin J Fight Team, and BB Roofing, Jay Kurtz Painting.
Awesome. Well, looking forward to your next fight. I hope it's one of those big matchups you were talking about, and we'll be watching. That was episode 73 of Parker's MMA Show. Like, rate, subscribe, tell your friends, pass this along. Texas and Wisconsin, hold it down for the boys here. Raufeon, thank you again. Can't wait for your next fight. Really excited. Park, any words of wisdom before we go out of here?
No, best of luck, man. We appreciate the time tonight.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Texas Trees is the premier tree care company in the DFW area. Whether you need basic maintenance or specialized services, when it comes to trees, we've got you covered. Pruning, chipping, bracing, and cabling, even root barriers and disease control, we do it all. And if you aren't sure what you need, we have certified arborists on staff to point you in the right direction. Visit us at northtexastrees.net. That's northtexastrees.net. Thanks for listening to Parker's MMA Show. Take a moment to rate and review on Apple Podcast or wherever you get your podcast, and visit parkerkeensmmashow.podbean.com for additional information on Parker and to stay up to date on the latest drama in the fight world. For more information and important links about today's episode, check out the show notes.